This simple sharpening jig holds the knife exactly in a horizontal position. And this is what you need if you want to resharpen the 90-degree edge of the multifunctional protruding Tang with a guided technique and not freehand. Because with a guided technique you get a much better result than freehand. Hello YouTube! Welcome to another video about the Victorinox Venture Collection. Good news for all those who are waiting for the new series of Venture knives with the overworked sheath. Right now, Victorinox is producing the new sheath. And I had the opportunity to test the new sheath for some minutes, and my first impression was really positive. Now I'm sure that Victorinox was able to improve the issues they had with the old sheath. And now it will take some weeks until the new knives and sheaths are available worldwide. So at the beginning of February this should be the case. But as much I know, in some markets you can get the new knife already before. But now back to the topic of today's video. In this video I will give you an answer how you can resharpen the 90-degree edge of the protruding Tang to its original sharpness or even more. But before I start to show you my technique, I will give you 10 inspirations how you can use the protruding Tang. Because without using it, you will be never in the situation that you have to resharpen this protruding Tang. So let's start with the spoon carving function, which uses the round shape of the protruding Tang that you can scrape out the bowl part of a spoon. That works very well on fresh wood which is not too hard. The link to a separate video to this technique you will find in the description box below. The protruding Tang you can also use to make fine shavings from fat wood. Striking a ferro rod on the spine of the blade will cause discoloration and dirt on the blade. Sometimes it's not so easy to clean that. If you don't want to do this with the spine of your knife blade, the Tang can be a second option where the dirt is probably less annoying. With the sharp edge of the protruding Tang, you can also make tinder from regular wood to start a fire. You can hammer soft materials into small pieces to grind it to a powder. This technique you can use, for example, if you want to make charcoal powder for making glue from resin. The 1/4-inch hex hole you can use as speed driver or as drill driver. The best drills to make a hole are flat drills with a screw on top or small normal drills with a hex shank at the end. You can use the protruding Tang to hammer or scrape a dent into soft materials. These dents are used for holding the hazelnut on place if I want to crack it with the side flat of the protruding Tang. The most of this task works a lot better if the protruding tang has sharp edges. And if these edges are dull, you have to resharpen it. Of course, you can make this freehand with a file or another grinding tool. And yes, you can feel it when the grinding tool is supported fully on the width of the blade steel. But as soon you start to move the grinding tool, it will happen that you tilt a little bit. That's why it is, in my opinion, much better if you grind the edges of the protruding tang on the grinding tool which is guided. And for that, you have to improvise such a grinding jig. This jig makes sure that your knife stays exactly in a horizontal position and the wooden block with a 90-degree angle on which you can attach your grinding tool. Make sure that your grinding tool stays in a perfect vertical position. And like this, you get the perfect 90-degree angle. And now I show you step by step how to improvise such a grinding jig. First, you need a little leftover of a wooden board and 6 screw nuts. I take M6 nuts because they fit almost perfect in the concave shape around the hex hole. You need also a little bit super glue. In addition, you need a wooden block or something else with an exact 90-degree angle. On one side of this 90-degree angle, you will attach the grinding tool. That can be a DMT sharpener, a Victorinox diamond sharpener, a Felix.immler DC3, or a cheap China diamond plate, or whatever you have. Because the knife is hardened on 59 Rockwell, I prefer to take a diamond sharpening solution. Now attach the grinding tool of your choice with double-sided adhesive tape. The Victorinox Venture has only 2 little spots where you can use as contact flats if you want to align the knife exactly horizontally. These are the polished surface around the hex hole and the polished surface on the ricasso. These are the spots where I place the 3 contact points of the grinding jig. Now I determine the rough position of the knife on the board. On one side, I need enough space for the wooden block on which I attached the grinding tool. Now I take super glue and put the first nut on the board and the second on top of the first. Now I take another leftover. With this I transfer the transition line from the handle to the ricasso. After that, I mark 2 end points of the high of the blade. These are the spots where I glue the other nuts. Now the grinding jig for the protruding tang is already done. I'm really surprised how well it works and how good the grinding results are. This is another version for a grinding jig for the protruding tang from the Victorinox Venture. I like this version visually a little bit better, but both devices works. So my friends, that's it for today. I hope this was an interesting video for you. Next week I will show you some tricks how you can sharpen the spine of your knife blade to the sharpest 90-degree edge you ever held in your hand. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and see you next Friday. Ciao!